Where is Dad?
I think Dad has made some excellent progress today.
Your dad, he's the fun guy, right?
Daddy's gone mad, hasn't he?
And I love him so much, and I think he's the greatest dad in the world.
Welcome back to the Working on the Dad Pod. I am Alex, he's Ethan, and tonight we are working on dad friendships. Right? We could expand this to parent friendships, but working on dad friendships, really talking about how as dads, and maybe as parents at large, but definitely as dads, I think, as you age, as you get older, it is tougher for a variety of reasons to make friends. And so, yeah, it'll be an interesting topic. Maybe have some fun moments, but maybe be a little more serious than some of our others. But before that, we'll do story time. After that, we'll work on the dad bod. Ethan, how you doing today?
I'm okay. Been better, been worse, but
yeah,
overall, I'm okay. And you know what? I'm just get into it right after this little sip of bourbon. So
sure. Also drinking some bourbon myself. Been one of those weeks.
Lovely. Yeah. So I sent you a message the other day about how excited I was that I only had 11 more hours of audiobooks to listen to before I can get into the full graphic audio version of Dark Age, the fifth book in the Red Rising series. So I sent you that message and I was ready to go. Had it all planned out. Gotten zero reading done since then listening since then because, well, work got in the way of my workouts, which was really, really frustrating. And so I was able to exercise on Monday, and I haven't exercised since. And I'll tell you why. I've mentioned a few times that. Oh, sorry. That was excited statement number 1 that turned out to be wrong. Okay. I've mentioned that we have been working through a reorganization at my agency. And it has been a rough 10 months, and I felt like a lot has gone poorly, and I haven't been very excited about it. On Tuesday, we had some breakthroughs. We had 6 hours of meetings amongst the management staff on the 8-hour workday, hence inability to work out that day. And I left Tuesday with the feeling that I got everything I wanted in the reorganization. I got the people I wanted. I got the portfolios I wanted. I got job description I wanted. And I thought, dang, this is excellent. I told my wife, I think I won the reorg. She was so happy for me.
Sure.
We had another meeting Wednesday. Somebody started some shizit. I have no idea if we're ever going to get back to Tuesday. So statement 2 could be very wrong. And I could end up in a worse position than I am now, with an expanded portfolio of things I don't like and less people than I currently have and more people that I don't want to work with. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Then on Sunday night, I'm going to go back a little bit before statement number 3. On Sunday night, my Ecobee, which is a smart thermostat, for those of you who don't know, sends me a message and says, hey, you have the house set to 70. It's gone up 5 degrees in the last couple hours. You should check the unit. Go downstairs into the garage, check the unit. I noticed the slightest little bit of moisture. And for those of you who may remember, a couple years ago, there was some moisture. Turned out that it was the start of a massive leak in the HVAC that caused about $13,000 worth of mold damage to my home.
Yeah.
So I see this little bit of moisture nowhere near the wall, and I say, okay, I'm gonna check that in the morning, see if it grows. Didn't grow. Dried up. Thought, great, excellent. Checked again when I got home after work. Didn't grow. Excellent. Then next morning, okay, grew a little bit. That seems strange. Wonder if it's just the heat. You know, we've gone through a heat wave. Okay, gonna keep an eye on it. Tuesday night, get the message again, and I notice that there is ice like exploding out of the pipe that is connected to the HVAC unit. So like where there was like an insulated pipe, I now see ice sticking out of it and dripping. So I'm like, okay, so that's where moisture is coming from. Not good. So I put a bucket under it, and then I open up the unit. The coil frozen, solid, and I'm thinking that can't be good. Quickly tell my wife, hey, I know you're in the middle of bedtime. Need you to come downstairs. Might need a second pair of hands for whatever's about to happen. She comes downstairs, looks at it, Google's frozen coil, and it basically says, turn off the unit immediately. Easy to do. Then says, turn on heat immediately to thaw. And I think, well, it's already close to 80 in the house. I am definitely not turning on the heat. So what I did was we had a giant metal bowl that looks as if like one would make a bunch of dough in an industrial professional bakery, which happened to fit into the unit. So I put it under the ice and said, I'm gonna let this thaw overnight. Set my alarm extra early, so wake up Wednesday morning, so yesterday morning, and it has thawed completely. Every single drop of water made it into that bowl, so I placed it perfectly. There was no moisture anywhere, and same thing with the ice, and all of the ice had melted. And I thought, holy crap, I fixed the HVAC. I am a winner. So turned it back on. House immediately started cooling. Everything's going great. And I'm like, sweet. So third statement that is about to go wrong is I called my father. Dad, when you're listening to this, you'll know I'm going to talk about this. Anytime I do something cool on the home improvement front, I call my dad and I brag about it because I've got a good job. I think I'm an okay dad. I do some cool stuff. But anytime I do something manly, like housework, I am more proud than anything else I do. And my dad doesn't say it. So called him. He told me he was so proud of me. And, I was like, this is the best day ever. So then get home and I notice that it is now hotter in the house than it was when I left in the morning. Open up the unit again, just take a look-see. Frozen again. So it refroze in 12 hours. So clearly the Band-Aid solution I came up with happened to be not the fix. So do the same process again and ended up calling an HVAC technician company this morning, $100 for them to come out. And then, I had a feeling they were just gonna tell me that I'm low on refrigerant. And I was thinking, well, refrigerant last time we had to refill it was about $70 a pound. There's now a war in Iran and everything is becoming more expensive. So it's going to be like $1,000 a pound. Was more than 70, was not 1,000, but it was $120 a pound. And they told my wife, who was able to come home in the middle of the workday because I was in the middle of a meeting when they said they'd be there. It was $120 a pound. So $820 later, I am just staring at the Ecobee, watching the temperature in the house go down and then like go up a degree and then start going down again and then go up a degree. So we are netting down, but I'm just so upset because this morning I texted my dad and I said, hey, I was wrong. I didn't fix it. I'm a failure. And he said, it's okay. And I said, you may have my last name back. And he said, I don't always do well in housework either. And I said, well, then Grandpa can have both our last names back. And that's where I'm at. So I went 0 for 3 this week in my statements of
sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, I kind of knew where that story was going. Kudos on the theme, right?
Thanks.
Nothing else about that deserves kudos. Terrible week, but
Yeah.
kudos on the storytelling there.
Thank you.
That's tough. Yeah, we had our AC break about 10 months ago. So it was August in Florida.
Yeah.
When our AC broke, and that was not great. I mean, we straight up, we got out of the house, right? Like we ended up bunking up with my mom in her 2-2 condo and figuring it out. But it was one of those things where, like, within it breaking within a couple hours, we were well north of 80 degrees, and it was just kind of uninhabitable in here. And so it was not ideal.
Yeah, today's heat index was 100, so it was like 90, but feels like at one point the projection said feels like 105 with humidity. So we were so it's like, all right, so we're both at work, the girls are both at work or at school. I said, last night I said to my wife, I'm not going to turn it on again because I don't want it to freeze a third day in a row, because that can't be good. So we just blasted fans, made it through the night, and then hoped that someone would be able to come today. And the house feels better, obviously, and then I really hope, we're at the point where we were told to set it to 65. We like to keep the house at 70. So I'm just waiting for it to get below 70, and then I'll reset it to 70. Yeah. So basically it's like you have to set it to 65 for the Freon to whatever. I don't know. But anyway, anyway. Yeah. So that's been my week.
Yeah. Well, for my story time this week, my week's been stressful, but no like awful outcomes. But before I get into my story time, I didn't say this at the beginning. Just a reminder to everybody, if you've enjoyed Ethan's story so far, please like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to find all our episodes, they're working on thedadpod.com. We have video episodes on Spotify, might have video episodes on Apple. I don't know. I use Spotify. Ethan can let you know when that happens. But this week, I mentioned this off air, but I was, I had a very quick work trip to my work's headquarters, which is in Minneapolis, and I had to fly from Florida to Minneapolis, which does not have a ton of direct flights. Long story short, I was very tired on sleep. I ended up getting back home at 2 a.m., 2:15 on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And my wife had left for a work trip on Monday afternoon. My kids were at my mom's. And so that has left me with, despite going on a work trip for work, meeting with my coworkers, funny enough, I work at a big enough organization that the work and the things to do don't stop, and in fact pile up when you are sitting in a conference room, like hashing out one big initiative. All the day-to-day stuff still exists, and your coworkers are understanding, but not that understanding. And so it's been a tired week, to the point that, like, I got a full 8.5, 9 hours last night, and my daughter had to come wake me up at 6:30 because I was just still absolutely dead. But that gave me an idea over the course of the day, because I got the kids ready. We went to the gym and I took them to camp. And as I'm sitting in my car and as I'm sitting in my house, I go, this isn't clean. It's not the dirtiest it's ever been, but there's just some stuff out, right? My wife and I had a busy weekend. We obviously hadn't been here Monday and Tuesday, and I have not had a lot of bandwidth to be cleaning on Wednesday. I was basically like, I'm just going to get ready for bed and go lay in bed and watch some NBA basketball until I fall asleep.
Truth.
And so I gave the kids, but I'm on this weird summer camp schedule. I ranted about summer camp last time we spoke about the weird schedule. And part of that weird schedule is picking up my daughter at 1:30 and then driving her to my son's camp to pick him up between 2 and 2:30. They're not 30 minutes apart. So we end up sitting in the parking lot for about 15, 20 minutes easily, just waiting until my son's camp day is done and then pick him up and head home. And it sparked this idea on the way to get my daughter. I said, all right, I don't have a lot of energy. I don't have a lot of energy to pick up. I don't have a lot of energy to dad. How can I solve both of these problems? And I came up with a system. And the system assigned points to cleaning tasks. The car was worth 3 points. The kid's bedroom was worth 3 points. The living room was worth 2 points. The dining room was worth 1 point. I was judging it based on how big the mess was. Taking out the recycling, taking it to the street was like worth 2 points. Emptying the dishwasher was a couple points. It all added up to there were 17 possible points. And I told my kids, I said, okay, if you get 10 points, you get a movie night. If you get 15 points, you get a surprise. The surprise turned out to be mug brownies. These brownies I can make in a coffee mug. You microwave them. Really delicious. And they got 15 out of 17 points. I needed to load the dishwasher, and they didn't do mopping the floors, right? Which is okay. It was just a throwaway, because the other thing I added on was you could lose points anytime. What are you doing?
You accidentally alerted the like thumbs up bubble, so I was seeing do the other stuff, but I guess not.
And so the other side of this coin was, if I heard anybody yelling, if I heard anybody crying, if I saw anybody hurting each other, or if anybody came and tattled to me, they lost a point, right? And that's why the thresholds were 10 and 15 points with a total of 17 possible points, because they're like, you can do the bare minimum, and that's fine. That's going to help me out a ton. But if you come and complain to me, you're going to have to do more cleaning to earn the movie night. They got 15 points, 15 points, and I didn't have to take any away. Am I saying that this is a repeatable system that I'm going to use all the time? No. It took them, I gave them until like 5:15, because that's when we had to start a movie to get it going.
Sure.
And it took them from 2:15 to 5:10 to do what probably could have been done a lot quicker.
Sure.
And they definitely weren't the happiest about it, but they got it done. And everything was good. And made dinner easy.
Yeah.
It was taco night. Throw a pound of ground beef. I've got a giant thing of taco seasoning. Cook it up real quick. I judged it because I was like, I got Greek yogurt. I got shredded cheese. I got shredded lettuce. I got salsa. I got tortillas, and I got ground beef in the freezer. Let's go. Right.
Is Greek yogurt in lieu of sour cream?
Yeah. I'm a big Greek yogurt in lieu of sour cream. Gives you a little extra protein. Tastes about the same, especially in a taco.
Okay.
So, it
plain,
works.
I assume.
Yeah. We always use plain. I just use plain, like whole fat.
Yeah,
Greek yogurt.
Because I'll like buy vanilla, and I feel like that would just
I wouldn't do vanilla. Sometimes I get vanilla because I got some like higher protein versions in vanilla, but I just get we just keep plain Greek yogurt in the house, and it works pretty well for sour cream. Is it like
cool?
I don't use sour cream enough that I would notice, and I've been using Greek yogurt as a substitute for before my kids were born. So,
sure.
But anyway, I was like, we got all the stuff for white people taco night, so we did a little taco Thursday, and so that was really good, and that was just one of those things that that was just really, I felt like it was a big win, because part of it is my dad's coming in tomorrow. I wanted the house picked up, for a guest coming. I wanted the car picked up. My daughter and I went over this system, and then we picked up the car while we were spending the 20 minutes waiting for my son. Because we got to sit here anyway. We might as well. And I brought grocery bags, and I said, trash in this one, keep in this one. And we were cool. We were pretty cleaned up. But and then my wife gets back tomorrow night, and I just was sort of like, okay, this house can't be a wreck, right? It's still going to be my job to clean it up, just as much as hers. But I don't want her stressed out about the state of the house. as one more
Sure.
thing. She's getting in late tomorrow night, and I didn't want
Yeah,
that.
I
So,
feel that. That's
you know,
nice of you.
it
I
was
feel that.
so it was pretty good. And I've kind of got another story that I'm going to share when we're working on the dad bod.
Yeah.
It's more relevant
Cool.
to that. It'll be fun, something kind of cool that happened today.
Yeah.
But let's get into dad friendships.
Yeah. So this was one of our longer story times, but honestly, that is kind of what a dad friendship is. You sit down, you each have your bourbon, you talk about your week with your kids, and thanks for being our friends, guys. And yeah, so I will say that dad friendships to me they're a little bit multifaceted. Obviously, one of the not easy, but easier ways to make friends as a 37-year-old man is to go to a birthday party with your kids, or you see another parent at pickup and you strike up a conversation where you kind of have that built-in talking point. When you think about college, you are meeting people because you go to the same school. You can talk about the football team. You can talk about a class. You've got so many Greek life
of social situations. Always.
Yes, exactly. And there's always something in common because most likely you two go to the same school, right? So you have to extrapolate that talent and that situational awareness into being a father or a parent. And that is typically how one makes adult friends. And not that every friend I have is also a dad, but I will say the friendships that I do have are at least people, if they don't have kids, are understanding about the kids' schedule and or like being around kids enough where your social interaction with them can have your kid there for part, if not all of the time. You want to be friends with people who are tolerable of kids, and I would say, or an understanding of schedules. My cousin and I, as long as something doesn't go wrong tomorrow, my cousin and I are supposed to grab drinks, and he lives in Arlington, Virginia. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland. Downtown DC is right in the middle, and we will regularly, ideally every month, but every 2 months, there's a whiskey bar right in the middle, and our goal is to meet up there after bedtime, usually a Friday or a Saturday night. And that's one of those things where it's like, hey, if I'm late, it's like bedtime's going a little long. If he's late, bedtime's going a little long. And we're both understanding. We both get it. We're going to talk about it when we get there. And whoever gets there first just drinks an extra whiskey. And that's the perfect kind of friendship. Granted, we are cousins and we love each other. But the truth is, it's just like the perfect kind of friendship for this stage of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you need those, I don't want to call them transactional friendships, because I know you and your cousin are closer than transactional, but I think there's a variety of friendships, right? And so there are deep friendships, and then there are the more, casual friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the sort of like acquaintance level friendships.
Sure.
Right. And I have found myself, I think one thing that's very true is deep friendships come with time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, it comes not from hours passing, days passing, years passing. It comes from actual interactions and time to develop those friendships into like shared experiences. And those shared experiences can become, pretty quick. Like, would I say that you and I have known each other half our lives, and like, yeah, we are still really great friends, but like, it's not like some linear growth curve here going straight up. Like, we became close friends, and I would say, yes, the friendship has strengthened over the years, but like, there was a lot at the beginning because we were living together for 3 straight years.
Sure.
Where like there was just a lot of like shared experience, like a lot of meals together, a lot of time together, a lot of those things. And with several other of our like close friends, like that's the case. And so we can get together, like no time has passed because of that big foundation. But one thing I've noticed for me, in my like life stage and life situation really is like I am in a point where like making friendships is a lot harder, and I think some of that really, it's really easy to say like, oh, it's just because you're not in all those social situations. And that's true. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of it is like, I have definitely become more introverted
Sure.
as I've gotten older, right? Where it's a combination of one, I'm not forced to be in these social situations. We're not going to parties, we're not going to social events, we're not going to, any of that stuff. I'm no longer in the work position where like I feel like I need to go network. I'm not in a work position where I'm working in an office, and I haven't been doing that for
Sure.
years, right? And I
Right.
recognize very well that like I had a lot more of those, you know, those like lighter level friendships with people that I'd work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I'm friends with several of the people I work with, but like it comes at that level of like if we worked at different places, I don't know that we talk, right?
Sure.
Like if when we
And
switch jobs, I don't know that we talk.
have you both noticed that? Because sorry, have you noticed that it is both like harder to make friends and kind of lonely, but the thought of adding new friends just seems not worth it because of the amount of work that goes into having a real friend.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
The
very
short
interesting.
answer is absolutely like you're reading my mind, right?
Yeah,
Where it's like I don't want to put it like right now in this stage, and I think things will change, right? I think things will change, and I call a lot of things a season of life, right? I think there
Sure.
will be a time where I have more free time, where I'm not my day yesterday picking up my daughter at 1:30, picking up my son at 2, bringing them home, getting my daughter ready for acro class to take her back to the exact same dance studio that I just picked her up from, because that's where her
Ugh.
camp is this week.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But I had to change her clothes, and that class doesn't start till 4, and I can't just be like, sit on your hands at the studio with a book for 2.5 hours. Like I could, but that's kind of negligent, right?
Sure. We bit.
In the studio,
Or at least frowned upon.
thing.
It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon.
Yeah, maybe not the best thing, but like I'm like when my life isn't so hectic, filled with kid stuff, and maybe that comes when they're in middle school and they're a little more independent, or maybe that comes when they're in high school, or maybe it comes after that, they can drive, or maybe it doesn't come until after college, right? I'm not trying to set the reason I'm being vague about that is because like I don't really know, but the thing I want to do is like keep myself open to finding more hobbies, where it's like my hobbies right now are all things, if I list out my hobbies, my biggest hobbies are reading, which is very solitary activity unless I'm doing my kids' story bedtimes, golf, which can be social but can also be done by yourself. And I usually choose to do it by myself because the thought of finding people I want to play with and coordinating golf with them is crazy. Like it's why I'm like trying to get my kids into golf so I can have somebody to play with. Right. And like I noticed that too. Like when I was a kid, like my dad would play golf and maybe you'd meet up with some randoms and get paired up with some randoms, but most of the time he just wanted to play with me. And I like to think that just like me, it's because he loved his kid and like wanted to play with his kid. But I'm also like, and then my third hobby would be brewing beer, which I rarely find that much time for these days anyway, but like also can be done as a group to make it a social thing, but does not have to be. And so for me, it's been, like the season of life where I think there will be a point where I have more free time and like finding ways to make friends. Like my dad has this group of guys that, he's got his college friends. Like we've got our college friends and they get together every year and they go to a football game. Right. And they'll travel to a different city every year and get together and go to a football game, right? And I'm like, that's great. And I imagine that you and I and our college roommates will probably be doing that kind of thing when we're his age. But he's got another group of guys that are just local to him because, like me, none of his college friends live terribly close by to him. And so he has this other group that like they meet at a grocery store that has a coffee shop and like some outside tables. And it's just this group of dudes, some, all like roughly his age and older, that just get together and kind of shoot the shit. And I'm like, you know what? That's
Sounds nice.
Right?
Yeah.
I've gone. I was up there around Labor Day last year, and I got invited, and like, so I got a peek into it, and I'm just like, this is the kind of thing I want. Like, these are not the guys that are going to be written into your will, but they're good friendly guys that you just enjoy having conversations. They talk about sports, talk about world events, talk about the kind of stuff, and I'm like, those are the kind of friendships I want. Like, you and I can get on, chat and talk about it with our friend group. But like, I just want some guys that like I can have a drink with. The drink can be coffee, just like they do. But like,
a beverage,
get together,
of any kind.
have a little breakfast, have a snack, have a drink, and just shoot the shit for a couple hours about whatever's going on. Because the gap for me right now is, and I know I'm taking up a lot of
it's okay, man.
But like,
you're good.
The gap for me is like, I don't have the time to invest in getting to know anybody that well to see if it's that. And my exposure, like yours, is like friends of my kids or friends of my wife, right? And it's like, I have a couple people that I would consider friends around here, and they're fine, and we have conversations and stuff, but I'm like, they're maybe not my people, right? And I don't mean that in the most negative way. I just mean like, if the kids weren't around or the wife wasn't around, like, I don't know that I could go out of my way to necessarily hang out with them. Or there are a couple people like that, and they're just they got kids the exact same age as me, and they're just as deep in the shit. And so like, getting a beer happens to be like, we happen to be at the same place at the same time. Let's grab a beer. Or one of these guys used to own the brewery around the corner, and he just happened to be there a lot. And so I'd be like, hey, he'd come over and chat with me while I'm already there having a beer at the place he owns, right? And you're just like,
no, that's wonderful.
Okay, that's handy. But past that, it's nothing I'm working for.
I will say one of the saddest things for me is, and I've told you about him, but I met a guy in the preschool line a couple years ago, and our daughters were friends. And he has a son who's the age of my younger daughter, and he likes sports. He plays golf. Our politics aligned. Our wives hung out. We did a family trip together, and they moved. And like, I put my heart and soul out there. And every once in a while, I'll like still text him just like a GIF of like SpongeBob SquarePants with doing like "I miss you" to Patrick, or the other way around. Anyway. But it's just like, or something will come up and we'll just send each other random texts. And it's just like, it's the one that got away. He was like my true dad friend that, not that like you're not my true friend and not a dad, but it was just like, it was one of those things where one time he would actually listen to our podcast. His wife told me, she's like, I thought you and him were having a phone call, but he was just listening to you talk. He loves you. And I was just like, and he's gone now. And it hurts. It really hurts. Because I put myself out there, and they moved for his job, and like I wish them the best, but I miss them. And I was thinking about your dad and his coffee group, and what's really funny is for the geography lesson for those of you. Silver Spring, Maryland has a really big Little Ethiopia, and there's like a group of Ethiopian dudes who are somewhere in their 60s and late 60s, early 70s, and they go to Panera every day from like open at 6 a.m. to I've seen them as late as 11, and they are talking sports, they are talking politics, they are loud about it. They make some really interesting comments where if you come in at the wrong time, where I once heard them say, do you know what they say about the Jews? And as a Jewish person, I was very intrigued to know what do you
Sure.
say about the Jews? I won't get into it, but it was just a bit like, you know, even though that wasn't the best conversation, like I appreciated that they could have it together and that they could feel
Right. You
feel
need
safe.
your people, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I've had that, you know, I had a wasn't the same level as your guy, one that got away, but like there, my daughter has a friend, and we were friends with the parents, and like they'd come over sometimes, live close by, we'd go over there, we'd hang out, we'd chat, you know, we'd be conversational. And like talking to this guy, it was like, you know, I could feel the thing. Like we never got into politics, but like we talk sports, right? And the only downer was he went to a rival college, but you know, like, but we could still talk about it and be civil about it, which was nice. And the couple is no longer together.
Okay, that friend, right?
Yeah. And so, you know, it's just, you know, and I'm like, and again, I'm not gonna sit there and act like we were besties, but I'm like, this is a guy that, you know, I can have a conversation with while the kids are playing, and this
you opened your heart
on a level. I wouldn't even go that far. Feels deep,
okay.
but I'm just like I could see the potential there of like, and our kids still hang out, and I see him. It's just a little frequently and a little less like, coordinated. It's a lot more transactional of like kids get dropped off somewhere kind of thing.
This was like without naming him, you know, he there was no college conflict. In fact, it was best. Like he went to University of Vermont, so he was like, I could jump on the Canes bandwagon, and I was like, I could get excited for the Catamounts making the tournament for the first time ever. That's wonderful. And
exactly.
Yeah, and like it was almost every week. Let's meet up at the bar that the brewery that is 100 yards from preschool pickup for and like drink for 30 to 30 minutes to an hour before pickup.
Preschool pickup, I love it.
Right, and then it was also like, hey, what days are you teleworking this week? What's your meeting schedule? And we would go golfing like in the summer, maybe like every week, and like we made it work, and it was just like it was just a magical time, and I miss him. And it's been hard to make new dad friends since. And you know, there's the transactional, there's the guys that I will gravitate towards in a party situation, or you know, the dads I like that I will invite to coach to be assistant coaches on the soccer team. You know, keep those going. I will say I was at a party the other day. My 6-year-old was the one Hebrew school friend invited to a birthday party, so I didn't know any of the other parents. And you know, we're sitting there and all the kids are having pizza, and I was like looking at how many slices of pizza there were and how many kids there were, and there's another guy just like another dad just standing next to me, not saying anything, and I like turn to him and I just say, hey, this is the moment where I'm just like counting down the seconds until one of the host parents says, parents, feel free to eat pizza. And he's like, dude, I was thinking the same thing. So then we just started talking, and about 3 minutes later, they said, parents, feel free to dig in. And we both just beeline for the pizza. And I was like, this was good. This worked out. You know, this was, And you know what? I don't remember his name. I'm definitely never going to see him again because, again, my daughter is the friend that doesn't go to that school. But it felt good to know that I could go up to a man, strike up a conversation, find a common interest, and, you know, just toast a slice.
Still got it, right?
I still effing got it.
And I think that's the thing, right? That it's like, you know, when you're not in these like constant social situations, right? I've had this like at birthday parties where, you know, I'll strike up conversations with other parents, right? And it's really been the birthday parties that like I go to with my daughter, because my son is one more reserved. He's, usually the wallflower that wants to hang out with me more than he wants to hang out with the other kids still at this age. And then, my daughter is the social butterfly that, will make, we go on this Disney cruise a few weeks back, and we've been on the pool deck 10 minutes. And she's like, can I go on the water slide with my new best friend? And I'm like, what's this friend's name? I don't know. I don't know, but she's my best friend. Where is she?
I love that about your daughter.
The other side, like water slide. And she goes, no, she's responsible. She's like a preteenish age. I'm like, there are a lot of red flags here. Calm down.
Yeah,
but
that's not good.
when I go to these birthday parties and I converse with these dads, right? Like I'm like, I don't mind it. I can hold my own in a conversation. I can, make small talk just fine. But there's quite a few, I feel like my batting average is really low, where I'm just like, maybe I'm a curmudgeon, or maybe the people around me are just suck.
It's probably that.
But I'm like, there was one that like rubbed me the wrong way. I went to a birthday party my son was invited to, and nothing about the birthday party was great. Everybody was like kind and cordial, but the one thing was
hosting a pink eye super spreader.
It was all for my son's preschool, right? And people, naturally it comes up the transition from just straight preschool to pre-kindergarten, which is, as I mentioned before, structured in the state of Florida. And like most people, this is we're keeping their kids at the Jewish temple for pre-kindergarten. And listen, I got no problems with that. Again, my daughter went there, and it's good to say that. But when, I'd be like, oh, he's going to go up the road here, because we were literally down the street from the public school. Like, he's going to go up the road here because that's where his sister goes. The number of side eyes and reallys that I got just came across as insanely elitist. Like, there were some people that had grown up and like been in this district and chose to go to the Catholic school next door kind of thing. And people, very much like, oh yeah, we've been touring a lot of the like private schools in the area, kind of stuff. And I'm like, those aren't my people. I'm, and granted, I am a lot more of a leftist. Like, I'll say it out loud, like like I'm a lot more of a leftist than the average person in my neck of the woods. And I try not to let it come out, because I'm like, this may not end well as a conversation, but I'm just very much like, wow, you hate public school that much. And what I refrain from saying is like, my public school daughter probably gets better test scores than your stupid fucking private school kid. Right. And I know you went to private school, and I'm not bashing private school. I'm bashing
you got better test scores than I did. So it's fine. Sure. You can say it.
And, and it's really, and it's not a, like, it's two anecdotal data points don't make the, make the argument for public schools. But I'm like, there's some missing when you look at it, and I really, and so it was like, I'd be having a lovely conversation with someone. I'd be like, oh, maybe this is somebody, that I could, figure out, does this person play golf? Do they, like beer? Could I turn this into a social interaction without the kids, or even a play date as like a warm up? And then they'd say something like that, and I'm like, I don't want to be around you. I want to be out of this conversation. Where's my son? Crap! I think I hear my kids calling my name. Right? And I'm
feel that. Done. Yeah. That's weird, but yeah, that's Red County, Florida, though. So
it is. And I knew what I signed up for when I when I moved here, and I came where my wife grew up. Right? It's like, I'm not gonna have some gigantic social base, and I can make it, because again, I can have, I can believe what I believe. And like, I have gotten this far without getting into a single face-to-face political argument with anybody.
Sure. That's great.
Other places, a mixed record. That's a different story for a different time. But I mean, I think if I'm giving listeners any advice, I don't have any, because like, as I just said, I'm not doing the best, but like, it's just like some of the things are like finding activities. I mentioned
Mhm.
golf. It's like one of those things when I feel like there's some breathing room in life, like maybe finding a golf league, right?
Mhm.
I know a lot of people get into pickleball. My parents used to
Mhm.
do tennis, um, that kind of thing. But like you mentioned, school pickup, youth sports, like trying to make friends that way, just like having some camaraderie with like other people around shared interests. And it doesn't have to be your new best friend,
So,
right?
yeah.
It's just something to like replenish your social battery, which is probably not the right
Yeah.
term because that's usually what depletes when you're having social interactions, but more just like
Sure.
replenish that need for like human connection outside of your
Mm.
relatives.
And I will say, especially now that I'm back into office nearly every day, I will say that like, and I actually get into it a bit over this with my colleagues because they think that it's not a good idea because I am in management. But what I will say is like I don't need to be friends with the people I work with, but this is simple math. I am supposed to be at the office for a minimum 40 hours a week when I'm awake. In an ideal situation, I'm sleeping 6 to 8 hours. That means mathematically, I spend more time awake with people I work with than my family when you add
Sure.
in commutes and
Yeah.
like things. And so I want to enjoy the conversations and the people I am with. I will say, and this is probably not the most professional, but if I don't really like the person, I'm not saying I'm not going to work with them. Obviously, like it's work, you got to get work done, but I'm probably not gravitating or like partnering with them on like certain things because it is still my time. It is like if I enjoy what I'm doing, I'm going to do it better. And I am the youngest. Even at 37, I'm still just the youngest person on the management team. I still am, now that I am in management, yeah, there are some people who I work with that are younger than me, but I'm still probably in the 5 youngest people at my government agency, even at 37. So it's one of those things where it's like there's not a lot of opportunity for friendship. And when I do see it, I try to take it. And maybe that's not the most professional thing as we outrank each other, but it's not with anybody who directly reports to me. So it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, if I'm going to be, I want to be friendly with people. I had work friends in the past when I was younger and had less responsibility. Some of them didn't turn out well. Some of them I still see. They became real friends, and now that we have switched jobs, we still hang out.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. I think one thing I have learned in this whole reorganization exercise is, I took one organizational behavior class at Miami, and I didn't do the best in it, but I still feel like I learned a lot. It was just I didn't like all the multiple choice questions. And everything I have listened to or read about leadership and the classes I've taken since college, just on terms of like continued learning educational, is that people accept jobs and choose jobs. They leave managers and coworkers for the most part. Like if you are happy with the people you work with, you're more likely to stay at a job. Obviously, if there's a lot more money at stake, most people will take it. Like that's just the smart thing to do. But usually you're not leaving a job you like, you're leaving a manager you dislike. And it was true for me. I've seen it in the surveyed comments from the workforce during this reorganization. People are very concerned that they will get certain managers and not get others. And I try to be a friendly guy because honestly, if the day is more pleasant, the work's going to be better. And I will feel personally better about having to be there 40 hours a week coming from a time of remoteness. So, yeah. Do you want to get into working on the dad? And I believe we're doing bod tonight.
Yeah, let's work on the dad bod. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
I'll go first because mine's quick. I know you had like a story prepped, but
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
So we are in the fourth and final week of the ballet hiatus. So my daughter's been doing golf lessons, and she's getting really, really freaking good. And in the 45-minute lesson versus the 30-minute lesson, I've learned I get my own bucket of balls, and I'm just allowed to hit while he's working with her. And then he will turn to me and tell me something about my swing. So we've been doing golf lessons together. But the one thing I did want to touch on is my daughter and I have talked a lot about, maybe I'll go for a jog and you'll ride your bike with me. But
Yeah.
and I think you mentioned this with your daughter too, maybe a year ago, but just riding your bike without a purpose, or like not a purpose, without like an end spot was not as exciting. So we hadn't done it. And then not this past weekend, but the weekend before, the weekend before, we were going to our friend's house with a pool, and they're about to have a baby. And my daughter expressed interest in helping paint the nursery. They were doing like a cloud theme, so it was like they were gonna let my daughter do the clouds, and then they do the blue, the sky and everything. And then they said, and then like an hour later, come to the pool. So I said to my daughter, I was like, hey, you're gonna ride your bike to the house, and I'm gonna jog because it's just 1 mile, and then I'm gonna jog home, and then me, your mom, and your sister are gonna come join you at the pool. And we did it, and she did it, and it was great because that was my only opportunity to exercise. It was actually my wife's suggestion reminding me of that plan. My daughter made it the full mile on her bike. And then after the pool, the bike went right in the trunk, and we took it home. But it was just, I have now transitioned into like, I can now exercise with my kid and have it still be a fun activity. So that was really fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, like my wife's done that a little bit, where she has sometimes on like morning drop-offs, she has like my daughter rides her bike to school and my wife runs alongside her and then just keeps going. So that's definitely not a terrible plan, and I may end up weaving that in the fall a little bit, especially with both kids, because I think my daughter might bike a little fast and my son would bike a little slower, and so maybe I can be jogging in the middle, keeping an eye on both of them.
Sure.
Kind of thing. That might work well for me, but but yeah, I mean, that's awesome. So yeah, my story time, because like one of the things we talked about quite a bit before in the working on the dad bod stuff, we talk a lot about working out, but we've also spent a lot of time about like diet and stuff. And I actually got an email a couple days ago. There is a cooking app that I use. It is called Provecho, and they basically, their model is they get a lot of Instagram creators and a lot of like, content creator chefs to post their recipes on their site. Excuse me. They charge you a monthly fee, but they give a lot more percentages to these creators of what they do than some of the other more traditional cooking apps who kind of just like hire chefs, take their recipes, pass them off as their own a little bit. And they sent me an email basically telling me I was in the top 1% of users on this app, which I thought was pretty cool.
What'd you say it was
called? Really asking what?
What'd you say it was called?
Provecho, Provecho. And so, check them out. This is not a paid endorsement or anything, but I got the opportunity to chat with the CEO this afternoon, to basically, be asking for my input, which I thought was pretty cool.
Cool.
So, I really like that app, but I just thought it was a really cool experience to sort of give them some of the tips that I appreciated, around like what I thought was great about the app and where I thought some things had some areas for improvement. And I thought it was pretty cool, but highly recommend checking that app out. They don't have a free model. It is paid, but it's like $10 a month, and like I said, it goes to the creators, so I don't feel like I'm just feeding it into some corporate machine, that I am actually like helping people that are putting out good content. And I'm getting, they've got a ton of different people on there, so I'm able to get a pretty good variety.
Cool.
But I wanted to give them a shout about it, because like I told them about some of the ways that I used it, and like one of the things, have I told you? I know I've told you, but have I mentioned on the podcast my like recipe archive project that I started with Claude?
No, you didn't mention that on the podcast.
I shared this with them, and I may have given away $1 million idea, but basically I've been using Claude, and this isn't really working on my fitness. My fitness has been fine this week. I didn't really do much on Monday and Tuesday because I was traveling. But with Claude, with those of you who don't know, AI platform and LLM, I use Claude. I started a project, and in that project, I have done where every night I cook a recipe, and my family rates it, and I get a rating out of 5 stars from my wife, my daughter, my son, and myself. And I plug those into Claude, and Claude keeps track of all of the ratings. And so it tells me what the favorites are and like what the least favorites are. And it's like, 1 is I never want to see this again. 2 is like, sure, I really don't like this, but like I'm not gonna throw a fit if you serve this. 3 would be like, I'm neither here nor there. I would really, I'm never gonna ask for it, but I'm never gonna complain. 4 would be like, I'd like it about once a month. And 5 is like, if you serve this every week, I would be happy. Right. And I think that comes with some caveats. You serve the same 5 things every week, people will eventually get tired of them. But
sure,
what it's done is then Claude will spit out taste profiles for my family and suggest new recipes for the next week, right? Where it's like, okay, now that I think I've got like 17 recipes in there right now. And so it's like, I'm like, all right, based on everything about my family, what they like and what they dislike, give me some ideas for recipes and help me build a menu for the week. And then once it helps me build the menu for the week, then I prompt it to say, okay, here are all the things I need from my grocery list with these recipes that you've collected, add all those ingredients and create my Instacart order. And then it does that. And so I can do my meal planning and my grocery shopping in about 15 minutes.
That's really sweet, man. That's cool. I accidentally effectively meal planned this week. Knowing that like I was actually supposed to have a different happy hour today, but there was a communication error, so it's next week. But with that, I basically said to my kids, I was like, hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do pasta Monday and pizza Friday. That is in, because you both got gymnastics, your mom's taking you. I usually stay late at work since no one's home. Making pasta's quick. Pizza Friday, obs. And I said, hey, Tuesday, do you want steak, chicken, or fish? And they chose steak. We did Taco Tuesday. Wednesday, I said, hey, one of you's got gymnastics. The other one's gonna watch TV while I cook. What are we? Do you want chicken or fish? They said fish. So I made Asian sauce. Like I'm just using the whole continent because it's definitely not just one. Like Asian fish and rice. And then today I was like, hey, you don't have activities. Your Pancake Wednesday is now Pancake Thursday. Great. And then we get to Pizza Friday. I said, holy crap. I just meal planned for a week. And everyone was okay with it. And it worked out. And it was like an even distribution of cooking. Yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I shared this recipe archive idea with a friend of mine, and she texted me one morning last week and was just like, hey, with my 2 girls, I'm 0 for 3 with one of them and 1 for 3 this week. Can you share the recipes that your kids have liked the most? And so I was able to prompt Claude, and I was able to say, okay, give me all the recipes in the archive where both my kids have given it at least a 3, right? Trying to avoid fights here. Give me all the ones that are at least a 3. And it gave me 8 of 17 recipes, which I'm like, holy shit, that's higher than I thought it would be.
That's great.
You know, given that we haven't done any repeats on anything at this point. And so I was able to just say, hey, here are all the recipes that I cooked that at least nobody's going to complain about. Right. And I'm like, you know, it's one of those little things where I'm just like, yeah, this is making my life easier. Right. You know, it's not always perfect. Claude still needs some work. Right. The biggest gap, and my wife has noticed this, and I freely admit it, is that I don't think I've scored anything less than a 3. And it's not because I'm easy to please or some human garbage disposal. It's because if I'm getting suggestions or searching for recipes and I'm putting together the meal plan, I'm not going to pick something that I think is going to be a 2. Right.
Right. Exactly.
I'm going to pick something that at least looks like a 4 on paper. And so a 3 means it underwhelmed me relative to my expectations. And so I'm like, that's sort of the gap where it's built my profile as like, you like everything. I'm like, I like everything I have picked to cook.
There you go. Right? Yeah, I like that.
Which is a very different way of framing that. So it does become a little bit harder to expand outside of my own horizons, even though I've got a fairly different palette. And then the other gap is with only 17 recipes, the initial output was very much like, your daughter likes this, your son likes this, and like there's no like a lot of the recipes were the same. And I was like,
Can I tell you the simplest recipe that my older daughter will like complain when she sees it, and I'll be like, you've eaten this literally 100 times. And then she takes a bite and goes, I love this. Do you remember University Chicken Grill and the Nolan's Chop?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The next time that you are done with a jar of pickles, save the pickle juice, pour in organic maple syrup, ideally the Kirkland brand, and then you stir it together. You put some chicken in it. You put that in the frying pan and you just let it cook until it evaporates and glazes, and you have a bourbon chicken. And I swear to God, it is the easiest recipe I have. It is phenomenal, and it hits every time. And I came across that because I was like,
I'm going to try this when my family's out of town in a few weeks.
Okay. I'm telling you, it's that simple.
I'm not saying I'm going to submit everybody to this, but I'm going to try it. And if it hits, then yeah, I might add that to it because
Because it's so easy.
That is a bold claim, because I was about to come out of the gate and be like, top 10 meal all time for me. Like, and so if you're telling me that you've got something that resembles that,
I do.
That
it is
culinarily doesn't seem like it should.
It is.
It sounds like the Jersey Turnpike that we used to do in
during battle shots. And but right, exactly. So that's a story for another day. But I hate cooking with brown sugar because it's like so effing messy, and it molds to the bag it's in. And I don't like it. I have found that maple syrup is a fantastic substitute for brown sugar. And so like the Asian sauce I made yesterday, it was literally I take soy sauce. It was soy sauce, Worcestershire, maple syrup, whisked it up. Used a little bit of avocado oil in the pan just to coat it, and then threw the fish in. I had the fish soaking in like the mixture I did, and then it essentially was a glazed, a soy glazed chicken. I have found that maple syrup is like one of the best things to turn any sauce into a glaze, if you're okay with the sweetness. So, yeah,
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of sugar. That's definitely gonna, that's definitely gonna help you out a lot there. I mean, like, yeah, I just like, I think, yeah, I sounds great.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
Like I'm gonna try this. Not like I'm over here Googling like if other people have done this, right? Like and people have, but like all I'm getting are social media posts, which like they just might be as crazy as you are, right?
There you go.
And so like I'm dubious, but I'm like I like those things. I like pickle juice. I like maple syrup. I'm down to like try this and see what happens, because I do think, even if it's not the same as Nolan's chop, like I'm always down for something easy and something relatively healthy.
Yeah, and it truly, like, I made it once and I made my whole family try it before I told. Sometimes I will serve dinner and I'll wait till everybody says they like it and then I'll tell my wife what's in it, and she's like, wow. And it's like, yeah, because it's acid, it's sweet, it glazes. You can add, if you're feeling fancy, you can add a little bit of balsamic vinegar to it if you just want to change it up. But for the most part, that basic pickle maple, that is your bourbon glaze. I don't understand how it works, but it does work. It does work. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I believe it. I believe it. Like, seems like it would be good.
Yeah, it is good. It is indeed.
All right, guys.
And I'm just on a roll.
Yeah,
I have found another, and I won't say who told me this, but they couldn't have been more right. The prompt was, I have a hard time getting buffalo sauce to stick to wings. And I really hate doing like egg-based breading because it's just like a lot of messiness.
Sure.
Anytime a recipe calls for an egg, sometimes I just do mayonnaise instead. And it works just
that's a pretty classic one. You just need the fat from the yolk or the fat from the from the mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is underrated in its like versatility outside of like smothering sandwiches, right? It is
it's such a good base for cooking.
And I mean, like I've even done, one of the easiest ones is like, you got some Greek yogurt and some lemons and some other stuff. You can you just throw that on your chicken, marinate that for a little bit, and then like oven roast those, and you get a nice Greek chicken going pretty easy.
Mayonnaise, Dijon mustard, lemon juice, and Parmesan cheese is one of the ways my daughters eat fish. It's like, and it started with an egg. But again, just like if you switch it to mayonnaise, it's basically just a Parmesan crusted fish.
Can I tell you a secret?
Please.
Do you know what mayonnaise is made out of?
Eggs. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
It just but for some reason the cooking seems to be easier than with an actual egg.
I like the egg is drippy. It's drippy. The mayonnaise sticks. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
There we go.
You can rub the mayonnaise over it and not feel like, oh crap, I've got egg white on my counter and like
right.
crack them and I had to scoop that shell out and then I had to dip them and now my hands are all eggy. It's like the mayonnaise just kind of comes off.
And with the oil in it, you also don't need to add additional oil to the pan. Kind of the perfect.
I use it on the outside of grilled cheese.
Yeah, that is a ball knowers grilled cheese.
Except for my daughter.
I mean, your daughter don't know ball
because my wife's out of town. No, she doesn't. I put mayonnaise on the outside, and she's like, I can tell the difference. This isn't as good as grandma's. And she's talking about my mom, and I'm like, I've had her grilled cheese more than you, and it's fine. It's fine. There's a reason I upgraded to mayonnaise. She goes, she used butter, and then I made it with butter, and I burnt it because the butter burns faster than the mayonnaise. And she was like, you burnt it. I was like, yeah, because you made me use butter. And we have had an ongoing war. And this week, I asked that little demon, I love her to death, but I asked her what she wanted for lunch, and she can't take nuts. She had peanut butter and jelly last week, but this week, this camp, she can't take nuts. Fine, whatever.
Sure.
I was like, all right, you can't have peanut butter and jelly. What do you want? She's like, I want grilled cheese. You know it's not going to be hot, right? She goes, I don't care. I'm like, You know, I'm going to be making the grilled cheese, right? Yeah, it's fine. I'll learn to live with it. And like, so I made it with butter. I got different cheese. Like I got sliced American cheese, which I'd never buy. I got it specifically for these sandwiches. Made it with butter, low and slow, so the butter wouldn't burn, but the cheese would melt. Did everything right. It was good. It was good enough. It wasn't as good as grandma's. It's like my wife is talking to. She's like, beggars, like basically beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah.
Like you're being a picky little bitch.
Girl's just not a ball knower, and that's we can't win them all. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, is what it is. I'm like my son is like, give me turkey sandwich with mayonnaise all day, every day. I'm like, great, you got it, man. Now he's not going to Jewish preschool. He gets a turkey and salami sandwich because he
shiz it. Yeah. Oh yeah,
and he's stoked about that salami edition. But he's good all day, every day. No complaints.
Don't got to keep kosher no mo. Yeah. On that note, thank you so much for working on the Dad Pod with us. Please remember to like and subscribe, especially on YouTube. That really helps the show. You can find us everywhere at workingonthedadpod.com. And of course, I am Ethan. That is still Alex. And we hope to see you next week, barring any scheduling conflicts. Thank you. Okay. Pickle Maple.
I was talking about hockey.